Hi, and welcome to the Selling in the Motor Trade podcast in association with CarWow, the online car-changing destination. Together, we share tips and ideas on how to sell more cars, improve your service department, and generally put more profit into your department, dealership, or dealer group. I'm your host, Simon Bowkett, or some of you might already know me as Skippy. Firstly, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to listen to this podcast. Your salespeople have the skills to deal with a customer that says, okay, well, thank you very much for the information. That's definitely food for thought. I never buy a car on the day. Do they know how to slow the process down and get into selling the new car before they get into selling the deal? How many salespeople have started the industry after COVID-19? The whole sales skill, the whole sales ability went out the window. Have you got a whole sales team that now don't know how to get back to basics? When you get the objection, down the road's cheaper. I want to think about it. What APR is that? That's far too high. I just want your best price right at the beginning. Our Essential Sales Training Program gives your salespeople the skills on how to sell the car in the modern world. Listen, speak to Simco Training and we'll tell you how we can help your team. Can I talk about your daily habits as a leader now? Now, running a growing dealer group, it's got to be demanding. I've never done it, Chris. I'm sure it's demanding. Can you talk me a little bit about your daily routines, your habits? What do you do, for example, your morning rituals? How do you stay organized? How do you get people to do what they should do? And even down to how do you switch off, or do you ever switch off when you run a dealer group?
You've made a lot of assumptions there. One, that I'm organized. I have daily habits, but
you are.
We start every week religiously with a management meeting with all my senior leadership team. We sit around the table and we look at everything in the business. And in that team is my finance director, my HR manager, my franchise guys, my used car guys, my marketing lady. We all sit around a table. You know all these guys. You've met them all, and we look at everything. It starts with numbers, which is important to us. We need to know every minute of every day how we're tracking against a manufacturer target, because that's going to release the bonuses at the end of it. And we can now track EVs. So we need to start looking by branch at all of the top line numbers, because that will give us a feel of where the issues are and where we need to react. So if we've got to send a team or send individuals into a business, we need to know which is the business. If a business is running 100%, no issues in after sales, no issues in sales, we can leave that alone. We don't need to focus our time on that. But where are the guys that are maybe underperforming, and what's the reason behind that? It could be recruitment, it could be management, it could be stock, it could be any number of things. So we always start on a Monday morning with a good couple of hours of drilling down into the business and seeing the health of the business and what we need to do and what the plan is for the following week. And then we'll touch on broader issues. We'll just listen to what the management team talk about at each dealership. So what's happening in that dealership? Where are we with staff? Where are we with recruitment? What are the issues going on? What are the big topics, and what are the more granular topics? And then who's going to deal with that? And also we're getting stuff flying at us from manufacturers, from the government, from the FCA, from the banks. That's a moving feast, isn't it? But you've got to have the information in front of you in order to do it. So that's always the start of the week. And that hasn't changed for years for me. I think in the future that will change, because we'll go for better systems and better dashboards, and maybe less manual input and more real-time information. But we have a great suite of reports. They're produced every Friday. I can look at them over the weekend. That will formulate where the meeting goes on a Monday based on the information I get on the Friday. So that's kind of Sunday morning with a cup of coffee, isn't it? Sat down looking through those, or maybe Saturday night with a glass of wine. Could be either one. The rest of the week for me is about where do I need to be that I can make the most impact. Some of that will be in the big stuff, property, and working with working on leases, or working with my finance director about the bank and the borrowings and the stock situation and what we can do. A lot of it is absorbed by manufacturer times, because they dictate a lot of what we do. And then go back to that manufacturer partnership at the beginning. You've got to have good relationships, and you've got to have good communication with your brand partners, because they dictate so much of what we do. I'm probably in my office 50% of the time. I'm probably in the dealerships 50% of the time, or out of the business for 50% of the time as well. Spend a lot of time gathering information from people far more qualified than I am, with better opinions and better operators, because I don't think you can stop learning. Even at the grand old age of 60, you still need to learn what's going on. Especially in today's market, information's everything, isn't it? Understanding what's going on in the marketplace through better operators, I think, is key. I tend to be quite disciplined in making sure I'm in the office as close to 8 as I can. I have an hour or so, maybe an hour and a half in the car in the morning, an hour and a half on the way home to catch up on phone calls and maybe wind down a little bit. But so much of my time today is dictated by what's happening outside of the business and thinking about what we've got further on. The rest of it's got to be about focusing the management team on the bits that they can, the bits that they can influence, the bit that they can operate on. And that is the key, because, long are the days where I can control everything. I've got to have a management team, whether it be somebody managing the marketing or somebody managing the day-to-day sales operations or our lead management systems, whatever it is. You've got to have a team around you that are going to pick up that and drive it through the business. So my job is to directing or dictating to them. Dictating sounds terrible, doesn't it? But dictating the course of actions that they need to take, so that they have a clear sense of purpose in the business when they go into the business. Because I always say to anybody at a group level, this is a key mantra for me. If you go into one of our businesses, first of all, you tell the general manager that you're going in to his business, because they are the general manager's business. And if you're talking to the used car guy or the brand manager or the service department, that meeting takes place between the general manager, you, and the manager of that department. So you sit in there together to agree what the course of action is. And then at the end of it, it's okay to the manager of that department. You understand what you need to do and what result we want, and we'll give you whatever help you need to get there. The general manager, you understand it's your responsibility to make sure he does that. And then my responsibility as a group role is to come back in 2 weeks' time or a week time and say, how do we get on? Did it work? Didn't it work? Or check in with you from time to time. But you've got to have clarity of communication in the business, and that's hopefully what we try to aspire to, is to have really clear lines of communication. The rest of my week, anything can happen, because like most of us, we sit down, we turn a laptop on, and 200 emails come in us from every direction.
I suppose that ties into the culture across Wessex as well, because you've got new locations now, new team members coming on. How do you maintain that strong company culture across the whole group? What steps do you take to ensure that the values and the standards of Wessex are consistently, no matter, if you're growing all the time there, if a customer comes into any one of your businesses, they have the same values and standards?
It starts with recruitment, always does, doesn't it? In terms of, you've got to recruit the right people. And sometimes that's a painful process to get the people that fit, that identify. In order to attract people, you've got to have the right businesses with the right brands in the right locations. That's key, because otherwise you don't even start to attract people. And we've seen that where we've got businesses in I guess, less attractive areas. It's very difficult to attract the management team to go in there, salespeople to go in there. So you always tend to be firefighting. So it starts with recruitment, and we've done a load of work on this recently, or over the latter years, and we've got some great general managers now in our business who's doing some really good stuff with us. And we're really starting to see that come to fruition now. We're really starting to see them engage with us. Then it's about identifying who are the next tranche of people coming through. So too often we lose a general manager and immediately the sales manager or the next, I can do that job. And and I deserve it because I've been here for so long, therefore I should do it. Doesn't come down to a necessarily capability thing. It's just the fact that, we ought to give him a try and we'll do our best to support him and train him. And, 9 times out of 10, absolutely fails, and that's our fault. It's not his fault. That's our fault. When people leave our business, most of the time, it's our fault. Either we didn't train them, we didn't give them the right path, we didn't the right support, the right whatever it happens to be. Either we didn't do all of that, or we shouldn't have recruited them in the first place, and we let ourselves down by recruiting the wrong person. So that's a key for me, making sure that we've got the right people in place. It is key to any culture really. And our job is to share with them as much information as we can that's relevant, and some that is not. I do every 6 months a town hall, so I will put a presentation together on the group and the branch's performance within the group, overall performance, all top line numbers, what's working, what's not. We don't hide anything from them. And then I'll go out with the management team and we'll spend a couple of hours, 5 o'clock with them, and at every branch we'll go through what's happening in the group, what we're doing with brands, what I think's happening in the marketplace, because I'm exposed to a lot more things than a salesman or even a valeter or a sales manager would be. We see we have a different optic on what the industry's doing. My job is to kind of share that with them, let them know what's going on, let them know what the company plans are, let them know how they're doing within our organization. If there's a bit of peer pressure, that's good and healthy, because they can see how they've done against other businesses in the group. But the most important part about that meeting, and it's always the most difficult one, because not everybody's comfortable with it, is I'll genuinely answer any questions anyone wants to put to me. So the last slide is any questions, and it should probably be the first slide, but that's always right. This is really important that you don't come up to me afterwards and go, I didn't really want to answer it and ask this in front of a load of people. Just ask a question and I'll ask it, because if you're sat there thinking what's going to happen to EVs with a certain brand, but you didn't want to ask, I can tell you that. And it might not be in my presentation, but now's the opportunity for me to share it with you. So ask me anything, what the future of the group is, what's happening with locations, what's happening with brands, what's happening with the market, all of that sort of thing. That you could do a 2-hour session just on that and get that level of engagement. And we've had branches where we get not that much buy-in and turnout because we don't mandate it to people, and sometimes people's time is precious and they've got other things in their life, children, childcare issues, all of those sorts of things, to dealerships where absolutely everybody in that place is there, from a valeter right up to the general manager and everybody in between, and they are great. That shows me that dealership's bought into it.
Interesting. Chris, are you comfortable to talk about, we know that today that everyone does all the research online and customers expect and want a smooth omnichannel experience. Are you happy to talk a little bit about your online navigators, your demo to the doors, and what you're doing at Wessex just to make the online to the showroom transition really easy to improve the customer experience, the buying experience for the customer?
Yeah, it's I was waiting for you to use the word omni-channel. It's great. I've wrote it down. Somebody's gonna say omni-channel in this. Probably the most overused word, that buzzword that we have. I have a different view on it. There was a thought prior to COVID, and a lot of discussion prior to COVID, of people were either going to come into the business to buy cars and no one was going to buy online, and the other side was people are only going to buy online, and that was going to be the way. I never subscribed to either. I always wanted to find out the work on the glue between the two so that
Hmm.
we could offer people what I consider to be a true omni-channel experience. I don't really think it's anything mind-blowing other than the fact it relies on some systems, it relies on some manpower, but I think it gives the customer the best
Hmm.
outcome, and that's what we're interested in. And it was it came out of COVID. It was when I'm sat at home thinking, I need to do something different. We're going to come out of COVID. What can we do that's different that will give us an edge in the marketplace that I don't think anybody else has got? That isn't just a bit of software, white labeled software that tries to work it. I worked with some IT people to build a lead management system, or take a lead management system and then convert it to what I wanted it to do. So in COVID, we completely changed our lead management system. And we built up our online navigator team, which started with one person, you know who I'm talking about, who the blueprint was, I want people to be able to communicate with us, with a real person, between 8 in the morning and 9 o'clock at night, 7 days a week. And I want them to have an experience, because I got shown by a manufacturer once a response that a sales manager had given to a customer inquiry. And I'm not sure how the manufacturer got hold of it, but it was an embarrassing situation to be shown an email written in capital letters, with spelling mistakes in it. It might as well have been written in crayon from an experienced member of our team. And I made a decision then, no one's ever going to send an email like that to a customer again. That cannot be the first experience that a customer's had with us. Because if I received that email, I would be thinking, I have no idea who I'm dealing with. So online navigators were born. Um, the way they operate is, they cover phones and every inquiry route into our business between 8 in the morning and 9 o'clock at night. And for the rest of that period, we've got other mechanisms of using it. Once they've got that inquiry, let's assume it's an email inquiry from Auto Trader. That customer then gets a very bespoke response with information about the car, a link to certain videos that is relevant to them, and that goes back. We debated long and hard about how quickly we would want a response to be, because when we first started this, I'm going back 5 or 6 years, it was all about, if you can get back to within 15, 20 minutes, that's a really good response. I think within a few months of us putting this in, we were down to sub 2 minutes, and we've never been more than probably a minute and a half now in our response times. So bespoke response, email back to the customer with all the information that they need, then followed up by a call. Now, we don't make a call if it's after, I think, 8 o'clock at night, but, a call to the customer, introducing themselves, thanking them for the thing, and then some qualification, which, uses words like, how did you want to buy your car today? How far are you down that journey? Did you want an appointment made for you? Did you want us to bring a car out to you and show it to you at your house? Do you want to put our deposit on the car to hold it for 72 hours because we've got 7 businesses? There's, 60 salespeople selling these cars. We all sell from the same stock. So if that's the car you want, put it on hold. I'll get you an appointment in the diary. It's a very soft, they're like a concierge service. It's the best I can describe it. They just want to handhold the customer through the process until we know what the next outcome is, which is normally an appointment, or it can be a sale. We've done that, but then once we've got that information, we've got as much as we can. We know a part exchange, we know his buying times, all of those bits, whether it's a company purchase or a private purchase or a Motability purchase. They can then direct that into the right department. So whether it's into our fleet department or B2B specialist, or whether it's down to our retail sales execs, in which case it goes into the manager's diary. And then we can track that all the way through. So we're really giving salespeople the best qualified lead we can, and keeping an eye on it because we can now track it from start to finish. The only ones we can't track is a customer that walks into the showroom. That's the only one we can't. We're still down to we're in the lap of the gods there, aren't we? Of did the salesman record that customer?
Mm-hmm.
But realistically, when that lead gets to a customer, because of the work the online navigator team's done, it's really the only thing we want. I mean, I'm using your word tracks now and
Yeah.
the Martech word tracks from years and years ago. The only thing we want that salesperson to do is, once that lead lands with him, is to pick up that call, pick up the phone, call the customer. Hi, Mr. Smith. I'm Johnny, the salesman from Wessex Garages. Great to see your inquiry come through to me today. I see you coming in to look at the Qashqai, whatever it happens to be. I've got you down 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. Just wanted to make sure, bring your part exchange details down with you so we can really have a look at you, give you the best possible deal on that. I'm the first desk on the left-hand side. How'd you take your coffee? And what a great call that is for a sales exec to make. When I was doing this too many years ago, Monday morning was a stack of papers on my desk, and somebody said, "Call all those customers
Yes.
and
Yes.
prospect them."
Yeah.
That was the deal, wasn't it? The work before the world's changed, and our job is just to make that transition, because I think that from a customer point of view is the customer gets, well, I inquired at 8:30 at night. Blimey, 2 minutes later or less, I got a fantastic email from somebody in an online navigator team, which showed me even more details about the car that I was interested in and
And
everything else.
this is a human, not an AI, not a
And it's
bot.
human, not AI. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's
Yeah.
a whole different
Yeah.
conversation. And then, the next day, at 10 o'clock in the morning, Johnny the salesman picked up the phone and said, was interested in my part exchange and me as an individual. I'm really looking forward to this company wants to do business with me.
Mm.
And I think that's a difference. And yeah, AI is going to be another world and already is changing our industry. I'm not sure we use it. We use it in different ways, but I'm not sure where and how that can go. But I'm hearing some great things that's happening with AI.
Mm.
But human interaction is, to me, the most important thing. And we've got that customer then. And these guys now, they think, what we up to, 8 people in the management team as well. They're dealing with our social media out of there as well as our marketing goes through there, because it's important that we could put a deal out into the market.
Mm-hmm.
And the phone rings and they get an online navigator and they don't know anything about the deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
That all falls down. So we've incorporated marketing into our online team as well.
Which is where AI is currently falling down for me, from what I've seen there. Whereas your team, they know that because they're part of the marketing team as well.
Yeah,
It's
and I keep testing AI. I keep looking at no insights at using
yeah.
AI and keep throwing things into it.
Mm.
And yeah, it'll have its place, no
It will.
doubt.
Well, it does. It
But it
absolutely does. Yeah.
but it does need an individual to
Mm.
keep it in check, I think.
Yeah. Hey, listen, that's interesting that the changes we're going through. I've never seen so many changes in the motor trade. So I started when I was 17. I'm 51 now, so that's too many years. Okay, so there's so much change going on there. I want to ask you, how do you keep your team motivated and focused through uncertain and changing times? What do you do to keep you guys on and upbeat?
I try to keep them focused on the task, and I try and keep them away from all of the negative stuff and the stuff that maybe I deal with, that they don't need to deal with. So rather than me download every time I have a hard conversation with a bank or a franchise, that keep them away from that, keep them focused on the task in hand. Hopefully, because we've got good brands around us, they love working with the brands that we've got. I think that's key. Once you get them engaged with the brands, and try not to give them too many distractions, it is key. But as we touched on earlier, when it goes down to the kind of the people at the coalface and your sales execs, I think they're motivated in a completely different
Mm,
way. We changed our pay plan last year. We have much higher basic salaries. We don't open Sundays other than the key months of March and September to deal with the volume.
mhm,
The rest of the time, we like to try and give people a weekend off when we can by managing those days. So
mm,
it is a 5 day a week. We've reduced our opening times. A sales exec is 40 days a week, 40 hours a week, 5 days a week, and we can
mhm,
cut that up any way we want. And that's what interests people today.
mm,
And I think it will help us attract people from outside the industry in different sectors that can see it now as a job with a decent basic salary,
mhm,
decent working hours, decent work-life balance.
mhm,
And then we try and incorporate that with lots of other things we can do where we've got affiliated deals with um, ice hockey teams, rugby teams, football teams, where we can get tickets for people. We open them up to anybody that wants them.
mhm,
So if they want to take their team out and they want, we did it a couple of weeks ago. I think they took 25 of their guys to the ice hockey
mhm.
for a great night out, which is, these guys don't. We're in a privileged industry, Simon. You and I
Mm,
will have been to places all over the world that,
yeah,
a lot of people will not get that chance to do, and you can't knock what this industry does and
yeah.
has given us. But being able to create opportunities for other people to do that, I think is really key.
Yeah. So listen, you've been at the helm of Wessex for a long time now. Can I ask you, what are some of the key lessons that maybe you've learnt over the time at running Wessex that maybe you wish you'd learnt right at the beginning of your career? Anything stands out specifically?
I mean, um,
I'll put you on the spot now.
I think the appetite to learn
Mm,
never goes away. Never goes away. I think I've always had a kind of a drive to do what's next. What's next? Learn what's next. Understand what's next. Since running the business, I've learned a lot more about uh, finance, property, leases, all of those sorts of things, and getting involved in some of the nitty gritty. Not all of which is my cup of tea, but I've always enjoyed that negotiation side
mhm,
of it. I think that's just inbuilt into my character, and
mhm,
I've always enjoyed building good teams.
mm.
Um, I'm not sure there's one lesson in particular that you can draw on, other than I think consistency is important. And I've always think that whether you're a salesperson, sales manager in a group role or running a business, you've got to be consistent. You've got to have people, you've got to be approachable so that people can talk to you, and you've got to give a clear, consistent message. You can't be up and down despite how you might feel sometimes. You can't, be kicking chairs over 1 minute and being everybody's mate the next. People need to know where they stand with you as an individual, um, whether that be a manufacturer or whether that be my group head office, or whether that be your team, your staff around you. I think you've got to have a level of openness, consistency, transparency. Let people know when they're not doing it right quickly and what they need to do, and let people know when they are doing it right. And I think having the appetite to grow is important. And I love looking at the wider picture and the opportunities.
I see what motivates you there all the time when you acquired that new acquisition and where we're going to go with this brand. And I just still see that passion there all the time there. That really does motivate you. I see that, and I think it rubs off onto the whole team. It really does. Hey, looking forward then, let's say, I don't know, 5, 10 years down the line. What do you think a car dealership business is going to look like in the future? And do you envisage showrooms and dealers playing a similar role in 2000, say 2030? And how does Wessex fit into the future landscape? That's another big question to start wrapping up. What's the future look like?
For the industry, I think there's more consolidation to go. There'll be the brands certainly want to work with the same amount of open points but fewer dealer partners. So there will be opportunities for everybody to grow. I know there are the sort of super groups and everything else, but they aren't the panacea for everything. And manufacturers don't always like having all their eggs in one basket. It does work very well in certain cases, but they like well-funded regional dealer groups, and we're one of those. We talked about it at the very start with the OEMs and the partnership between the two, and what does the dealer model look like. I think it looks a lot more like working more closely with OEMs to define the problems that exist within the dealer network currently. As I say, there's some really good people in OEMs with some really good intentions. And sometimes those ideas, albeit that we know they're right, the manufacturer knows it's right, don't get off the ground because they are handcuffed by either financial constraints, and let's not kid ourselves. Some of our OEMs are under a lot of financial pressure at the moment, and the global press with some of the brands is quite worrying. So there's got to be a closer partnership. There's got to be a better model that helps us and helps the brands sell more cars. I don't think the physical size of locations will change dramatically. I still see there is a requirement for showrooms, for good sized showrooms, because the range of products will be significantly more in some cases, or have a different requirement for what we need to show customers. And I think customers, if you get the environment right, will still want to come back into a dealership. And when I look at what we've done with our Kia businesses this year in terms of the refurbs, they look fantastic. I think it's one of the best examples of showrooms you can see today. I genuinely mean that. But what needs to happen is some synergies with and a joined up approach to the customer journey. We have way too many systems and processes in our business. And it starts with how manufacturers receive leads compared to how we receive leads, and how we need to get that into one system. And people need to start opening up about this. People need to be wanting to work with, dealer, that we're a multi-franchise group. We're not, as many groups will be. I haven't just got one lead management system and one ordering system, and I've got dozens of them. None of them which talk to each other. And then I've got a DMS which doesn't want to talk to my showroom management system, and there's too much disconnect in that whole process. And a lot of it is because no one wants to share information, no one wants to share data. And I realize there's issues around that in terms of the data itself, but you can ring fence that. But I think the issue is around systems talking to one another and being truly end to end. Because the net result is, if you get, and I'll go back to a salesperson now, a salesperson years ago, back to my day, is selling a car. I probably did the finance because there was a system that allowed me to prop it and fax it through and get it paid out, and it was done. The systems and processes and legislation that we need a salesperson to operate under today is significantly different to what it was 20, 30 years ago, or even 10 years ago. We are in a different world. So we need to supply and have systems and processes which make that seamless, not just for the sales exec, but for the customer.
Yeah.
And guess what? If we do that, and we do it end to end from a manufacturer to a customer, we sell more cars. That's the net result. You make it seamless, take away the roadblocks, make it a great experience for the customer, great experience for a salesperson. You just sell more cars. We lose people from our business because of the complexities of systems, legislation, FCA, pressure from the manufacturer to sell EVs, all of those sorts of things. We will lose people. So we'll always be in this continual flux of bringing people into the business and recruitment and recruitment and recruitment until we find the sweet spot of A, the right people to recruit, and B, have the right systems in place. So I think AI is not an answer to that. I don't think. I've not seen it yet, but there are, I think, movements in the marketplace that will enable that to happen. But it needs to happen a lot quicker.
What strikes a chord with me, Chris, is we do training with your salespeople and how to sell a car and the good sales process and opening questions, asking the business, demonstration drives, all good stuff. But so often I see a salesperson fails because they've got inquiry match that they need to get around and the test drive system and FCA and something that's really working for us for both is where we have the sales fitness program where we have one program where it shows people how to fill out Inquiry Max, how to fill out the technology. Because if they're not confident with that, you can see the salesperson flapping in front of the customer. Customer lose all confidence, and it's as important part of it. And it just really hits home. And the other thing is you've got to be able to track now that we have taught that salesperson, they have shown them how to use all those systems there, and it's you can't just rely on. Think about the amount of systems a salesperson. We sat down, Chris, in your office and went through all the systems that they need to know inside out, back to front before they sell a car. And what was it, nine different things we had to make sure that they know inside out before they meet and greet a customer.
And before they know anything about the product,
Oh yes,
that's
so
changing every single day with every different drivetrain and technology.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's just one of those things that, and the first thing a salesman say, I was never shown. And actually, how do you prove they were shown or not?
Mm.
You really do need to get that end to end there. Chris, I really enjoy our conversations. Listen, there's lots of OEM and manufacturer people that listen to this. This podcast goes out to about 6,000 people now every Thursday, which
Wow.
from when we started, you were number six in 2020.
Six.
Number six, thank you for that. It's amazing how this has gone out, and we got more and more OEM and manufacturers, which shocked me actually because it was more aimed at dealer world. Any last message you'd like to leave with a manufacturer, an OEM person listening to this?
Um, yeah, I think there's a couple of things. I should have said at the very beginning as well. I think it's great we're still referencing a TV program from 1968 into why you're called that, and your target audience is probably thinking,
Ah,
what on earth are they talking
so
about?
I got to tell you that Skippy, you are dead right because so many brand new people that have no idea. And I was branded this name Skippy in a dealer group that we both worked for back in '95 when I come over, which at the time wasn't original. If you are young, just go and Google Skippy. It's not peanut butter. Okay, it's something completely different.
But yeah, I think we touched on it there for any OEM. The dealer partnership is critical. We're in a real turbulent time at the moment with the marketplace with EVs and the pressures. It's not just our problem. It's a collective problem that the whole industry's got to work together, whether that be in lobbying the government for some sort of change or just some sort of help in infrastructure, doesn't matter, but we need to work collectively together to push that message and get that message changed. Then we need to work with OEMs in a much more collaborative way, whether that be on systems, whether that be on sharing of information, whether that be on um, any cost base, help with the cost base. But we have to understand what's going wrong in dealerships today, where the key points are, and what we need to do collectively to change them. And that works with great partnership relations, isn't it? That was kind of the thing that's run through that's a key point. It's been key in my career anyway, but I think it's key to building up really strong networks. There are some great examples of where that's happening with brands today
Mhm.
in an agency and non-agency model. Um, and I think there could be a lot more done to
Mhm.
understand what goes on at grassroots level in the business.
Chris, I always enjoy our conversations. Thank you again for your time. Let's make sure it's not as long next time before we get you
Another
back
5
on.
years.
Exactly. Chris, what's the easiest way for people to reach out to you? Is it LinkedIn the easiest way for people to find you?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm easy enough to find. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm all over that. But if anybody wants to ask me anything, yeah, LinkedIn's the way to go.
Really appreciate it. Thanks again for your time.
Thanks, Kit.
That just leaves me to say that all details of this episode and other episodes on the selling in the motor trade can be found on our website, simcotraining.co.uk. Go there to get a copy of our book, Words That Sell Cars. Go there to sign up to a free trial of our Sales Fitness online sales training program. Easiest way to get hold of me is Simon Bowkett through LinkedIn. Thank you.